Dozens of people were killed today during 3 jihadist attacks in Kuwait, Tunisia and Lyon, France, where one victim was beheaded by terrorists wielding an ISIS flag. Islamic State militants also massacred over 100 civilians in the Syrian border town of Kobani. And what did we hear in the aftermath from world leaders? Islam is a religion of peace. No matter how many times you say that, it's not going to make it true. Islam is not a religion of peace. The Quran contains over 100 verses that call on Muslims to murder or go to war with non-believers. This is the source of the extremist ideology that leads to the kind of attacks we've seen today. Does that mean that most Muslims support violent jihadists? No, but a significant minority do. And that's why we need a reformation of Islam, as people like Ayaan Hirsi Ali have called for. Look at France, where today's beheading took place. 1/6 of French citizens have a favourable view of ISIS. A staggering 27% of French citizens between the ages of 18 and 24 sympathise with ISIS. An Al Jazeera Arabic television poll found that over 80% of its viewers supported ISIS attacks in Iraq and Syria. Other polls also show that frightening numbers of Muslims support terrorism, from the UK to Turkey to Egypt and beyond. A significant minority of Muslims clearly support ISIS. When are we going to acknowledge this fact? But don't expect Salon.com or any other leftist media outlet to blame all Muslims for today's bloodshed, despite the fact that they collectively impugned all white people for the actions of one lunatic in Charleston. It's not going to happen because it's not politically correct to acknowledge the fact that Islam is a violent belief system desperately in need of reformation. And this time, they can't even use Muhammad cartoons as an excuse. But remember what Obama said about Charleston.
This type of mass violence does not happen in other advanced countries.
Well, actually, it's happened twice in France in the last 6 months alone. But the difference between the Garland attack in Texas and today's attack near Lyon is that the only victims in Garland were the terrorists who launched the attack. And why is that? Responsible people using firearms, the very thing that the left wants to abolish in the wake of Charleston. And the difference between Dylan Roof and Islamic jihadists is that there's no state-backed global ideology that explicitly advocates and supports violent white supremacists. But hey, you know, why didn't we just ban the ISIS flag? I mean, surely that would prevent extremists from murdering people, right? Are all Muslims to blame for today's attacks? Obviously not. But if you really want to lay the blame somewhere, how about Saudi Arabia, our supposed ally that funds and exports all the radical preachers to the West to spread the violent hatred of Wahhabism? How about the fact that these jihadists have been aided by our own government's foreign policy of arming and funding jihadists in the Middle East and North Africa to topple Gaddafi and Assad? When Islamic extremists kill people in France, we call them terrorists. When they do the same in Syria, we call them moderate rebels and send them weapons and money. And now it's confirmed from the very beginning the Pentagon knew this policy would lead to the rise of the Islamic State. The bottom line is this: until we acknowledge that Islam is a violent belief system, until we stop supporting jihadists in the Middle East to overthrow sovereign governments, and until we recognize Saudi Arabia as the biggest exporter of terrorists in the world, many more innocent people, most of them Muslims, are going to die. Check out the other videos, subscribe to the channel. I'm Paul Joseph Watson for Infowars.com.